117,966. That's the total number of C2 Corvettes that were produced, but the one we're taking a look at today is much more rare. My name is Bobby, and today we're down in Old Shawnee Town. It's a 1929 museum and farmstead. We're going to be taking a look at this stunning L78 Corvette you see here behind me. Before we get into that, do me a favor, click that like button. Consider it your way of telling me.
Thanks. Thanks for doing this.
A quick Wikipedia search will show you the word Corvette originally referred to a small warship. It was the late Myron Scott reading a dictionary one night that discovered the word, and thus the Corvette as you know it was born. The Corvette originally debuted in 1953, and the first generation lasted 10 years. By 1963, the C2 Corvette was born. While the C2 Corvette outproduced the C1, 117,966 compared to 69,015, the C2 Corvette is the shortest generation, spanning only 5 years from 1963 to 67, and saw considerable change through those years. The 1963 C2 Corvette was offered in a coupe or convertible. Ordering a convertible did allow for an optional hardtop, and other than that optional hardtop, the coupes all had a separation within the rear window, creating the term split window Corvette. These were only available in 1963. For 1964, the split window went away, but it was still equipped with a 327 fuel-injected V8. In fact, they stuck with this as their highest performance option until March of 1965, which is where this beautiful L78 comes into play. The L78 is a 396 cubic inch big block V8 and Chevy's first ever big block, likely the reason they ditched the fuel injected system in favor of a carbureted engine. You could still get the 327 Fuelie through the end of 65, but it was largely replaced by this 396 with a Holley 4-barrel carburetor. From the factory, this engine comes rated at 425 horsepower. 1965 was the only year for the L78 Corvette, but it was offered in other models in following years, and while the highest output option was rated at 375 horse, that may have just been a fib to get them insured easier. This 396 has been bored 60 over, meaning it's packing closer to 500. 1965 being the only year for the 396 Corvette was due to the release of the 427 cubic inch big block the following year. While the 427 may receive more love, its debut is what makes this car so rare. Only 2,157 were produced in the partial model year, but it gets even more rare than that from here. Now, as I mentioned in the title of this video, this is an NCRS Top Flight car. Let's get into what that means because it carries some weight. Real quick, the NCRS stands for the National Corvette Restorers Society. They were established back in '74, and they play an important role in the preservation of Corvette history. Now, it's important to know they aren't simply judging a Corvette for how nice it is, they're judging for how authentic it is. And I guess also how nice it is. Holding a top flight rating requires a score of 94% or higher, graded on both originality and condition in relation to how it was the day it left the factory. This Corvette boasts a 95.4% accuracy. Let's jump into what got it there, and it all started with a man up in Chicago named Ernie. According to his wife Eva, building a Corvette was a labor of love, and this wasn't his first rodeo. Here's some photos of where the project started. He bought the car on August 28, 2007, and it was a 2-year build done in 07 and 08. This car had the original numbers matching 396, the original M24 speed transmission, plus the original 370 posi rear end, which was standard equipment for the L78. And, like this channel, it had no AC. According to the trim tag code, this was originally Nassau blue, unofficially known as Corvette blue, paired with blue interior. While the car came with incorrect exhaust when he bought it, this was a factory side exhaust car, and there were only 759 1965 Corvettes produced with factory side exhaust, and a much smaller number of them were paired with an L78 396 convertible and dressed in the coveted Corvette blue. Every nut and bolt, any numbering or lettering, the holes punched into the rubber on the windshield wipers, even the tip of the antenna is made to perfectly match how it was the day it left its final assembly point in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're not used to this type of build, there are some fun Easter eggs about the car, so let's jump into a couple. Taking a look underneath the car, you'll notice a green dot on the axle shaft that let assembly workers know it was going to be a big block car. Over here, you'll notice white grease pencil marks, which let the workers know how many shims to place between the body and the frame, and you have the tape holding them from moving when it was being bolted together. Another subtle detail is the hood hinges were put on before the firewall was painted, and the assembly workers didn't tape them off, so that overspray has to be there if you want a car this correct. 1965 was the first year for the gold line tires, the disc brakes, the 3 functional gills on the side, and Chevy redesigned the hood in order to fit the big block. In addition, you had to have the L78 in order to get the K66 transistor ignition. Let's go ahead and get this out so you can see it moving. This car does lose points in a couple areas. Funny enough, the paint is just too nice. It's better than what they were able to achieve in 1965. And although an accurate look to the original Kelsey Hayes knockoffs, this is a reproduction wheel. Ernie has unfortunately since passed away, but I wish I could have met this man and shook his hand, because his work is absolutely impeccable, and he documented absolutely everything. But I also think he might have had a sense of humor. See, at one point the front clip was in the front yard making sure some topsoil knew its place. In all seriousness, this was probably necessary because he built this car in his own garage. The only thing that wasn't built there is the paint was done at a shop owned by his buddy Mark. In the few years of recent ownership, the car's won all sorts of awards. Mike's done a very awesome job of making sure the car gets out for people to see, and that's how this video idea came about. I met him at a local Cars and Coffee I took my son to. Ernie had a great love for Corvettes, and he had a great love for restoring them. I mean, if you just look at this thing, you can tell, you can see the pride that went into his work, and I have a great appreciation for that. I also want to show some appreciation to his wife, Eva, for letting me share their story, Mike, the owner of this car, for making all of this possible and working with me, and old Shawnee Town. I appreciate you. I enjoyed making this video for you, although it was pretty easy for me, just kind of common knowledge stuff, but go ahead and hit that like button if you got something out of it. I'm joking. I did tons of research. See, it's not about what you know already, it's about what you learn. So smash that subscribe button so we can keep learning together. No AC, baby.